Towards the end of the Death Note one shot, about near almost 10 years ago, we saw Ryuk and another Shinigami called Midra discussing how Midra couldn't find a smart person like Ryuk did. This latest one shot begins with that discussion before Ryuk goes to the human realm once again to get his hands on some apples and find someone like Light. This story starts off in 2017 when Ryuk overhears some teachers talking about a really smart middle schooler getting top scores on the aptitude test. Not to miss out on the chance, Ryuk chooses this dude as his next apple feeder. The kid's name is Minoru Tanaka, and as we find out, he loves to solve IQ test puzzles. Ryuk hands him the Death Note and pretty much asks Tanaka to do what Light Yagami did years ago. And here we find out the fundamental difference between Light and Minoru. Minoru likes to take things easy and does not have the sense of absolute justice like Light did. While Light straight away used the book without much guilt, Minoru never once thought of using it and instead settled on a plan to sell the book. As for the perception of Light, well, the history books did not treat him kindly. He's been marked as a mass murderer by the general society, but there are still who treat him as gods. Take it for what you will. What I am more curious about, however, is what Minoru would have done if he was the first Kira. Right now, he has the benefit of the hindsight and a third-hand experience of Light through Ryuk to guide him. I have always wondered how Light Yagami would have performed in the 2010s, in the age of internet and the constant surveillance. The time that Light served as Kira was just witnessing the birth of internet, and the government surveillance was nowhere near the extent it is now. The growth of technology since those days has been massive. It would have been pretty hard to stay anonymous and operate stealthily. L was always on the heels of Light, always on the verge of catching him even back then. I feel that in this day and age, Light would have had a much harder time to dodge the law enforcement agencies. However, as Minoru remarked, Kira would have thought of a way to avoid these roadblocks as well, and he figured out a really smart idea to communicate with the wider world without leaving any traces. Use the cable network. By asking Ryuk to broadcast a written message from the broadcasting station, Minoru was able to hide his presence quite well. To make sure that Minoru was not seen with Ryuk at any point, he asks him to travel through the ground. What an ingenious idea. We also get an update on what the new L, previously known as Nier, is up to. He did not have an active role in this chapter, but was curious about the new Kira. He quickly deduced that the latest Kira was a smart person and did not intend to use the book to kill someone. I feel his presence in the chapter was to act as an explainer and hype up Minoru's intelligence. After Minoru was able to successfully sell the book and get the money distributed to all of Japan, Nier admitted defeat for the first time since becoming L. Dare I say, he finally got his first L. Before delivering the book to the buyer, Ryuk got called to the Shinigami realm to meet the king, who was not happy about the Death Note being sold and added a new rule that said that the buyer and the seller of the book shall die. The American president refused to accept the book after hearing the rule but decided to act like he owned it anyway, getting remarked of his shrewdness by Ryuk. Towards the end, we see Ryuk write Minoru's name in the book that kills Minoru as Ryuk's wonder way to find another person who would feed him apples. Overall, a decent chapter. Obviously, it would be hard to capture the intrigue and the psychological thrilling vibes that the original series had in just one chapter. You need dozens and dozens of chapters to slowly build the plot and the characters of the story and add plot twists. Nonetheless, with what limited real estate the authors had, I think they did a good job with Minoru Tanaka and were able to display his personality and were convincing enough to portray him as a very smart individual. I also like how Minoru was shown to rock the typical e-boy fashion trend. Now let's talk the ending. The ending was easily my least favorite part. Light met his end because Rick wrote his name in the notebook as he said he would because Light decided to use it and was pretty much lost towards his adventure. Minoru never once used it to kill someone, and even went on to further help the entire country by giving them what essentially was free money. Sure, a new rule got added that prohibited the buying and selling of a Death Note, but that was after Minoru had already done his work. The new rule was beyond his domain of information, and he had no way of knowing that the new rules of the Death Note would be effective retroactively. This in some way lessens the impact of Light's death for me. What Light did was and still remains very polarized, and some would say that he deserved his untimely death. No one would say so for Minoru. He only helped people. You could argue the fact that he sold that note that could have gone to a malicious person was a harmful act, but let's be real. He had to protect himself from the prying eyes who could be looking for him while avoiding doing anything what Light did. I say he did a good job, and so in my view, he did not deserve the ending that he got. I am curious what you guys made of it. Comment down below with your thoughts, like and subscribe if you're new. I am Big Dog, and I will see you later. You guys take care.